Welcome to another exciting and informative episode of the Entreprenudist Podcast, a place to hear real entrepreneurs and business owners bear it all. I'm your host, Randolph Love III, and we definitely have another great entrepreneurs on the show today. Before we bring them on, we want to remind you that this episode is brought to you by ShieldWolf, Strongholds, a wealth growth and protection company when it comes to employee benefits, when it comes to estate planning, retirement planning, and life insurance. If your plan ain't ShieldWolf, your plan ain't strong. If you want to retire higher than you would have prior, visit ShieldWolfStrong.com. ShieldWolfStrong.com. Now, our guests. Entrepreneur Paul Shrater, currently the owner or co-owner of over a dozen companies and brands in e-commerce, third-party logistics, fulfillment, contract packaging in food and beauty, promotional products, food service distribution, joint ventures, supplements, homeopathics, art, and TikTok talent brand management. The company span 3 buildings that total approximately 100,000 square feet. He is a graduate of the acclaimed Wharton School of Business, a speaker at national conferences in the areas of e-commerce, and has appeared in numerous national television and print media. Paul, welcome to the Entreprenudist Podcast.
That's it. You're hired as my publicist.
Yeah, there you go. I'm definitely available for the job. How long you been doing what you're doing now?
21 years. And before that, I spent 9 years in film and TV as a producer and writer. So in business and industry, 30 years, but e-commerce, 21 years, and fulfillment and contract packaging and all that kind of stuff. So,
man, I know even after graduating from the acclaimed Wharton School of Business, even after successfully running all of these businesses, as soon as people find out that you were in film and television, that probably takes over the majority of the conversation.
There's always interesting stories from Hollywood, yes.
Any projects that we would have heard of that you worked on?
Yes. No, the biggest one I did is I sold a script for $1 million that never got made, but they spent another $1.3 million on other writers to rewrite it. But I was still a producer on it. So that was an interesting project that had an interesting journey. But it was back at a time, it was in the year 2000. When you could write a script, and what they called a spec script or a speculative script, and then your agent sends it out to the town, and literally the next morning there's offers on it. So it happens like that. You work for months, and then boom, within 24 hours, it's done and over with. And then a week later, after contracts are all done, you're in a meeting with the studio and sitting talking with the director they already have brought on board, and you're off and running.
Man, you make it seem so easy.
Oh, it's not. It had gotten to the point where after 9 years in the industry, they always say it's like who you know and everything. But if you get to the point of like knowing all the people you need to know, and it then becomes about having the right thing at the right time in front of the right person who happens to be looking for that. And you can't know who that is and where it is. So all you do is spend every day meeting people for breakfast, lunch, dinner, drinks, 7 days a week, basically saying, how about this project? How about this? How about this? How about, and that's all you're doing, hoping to land the right thing at the right time, in the right place, so it's not, again, about getting to know the person, to be able to do that. You already know them. Now it's just about, is it a fit for what it is they happen to be looking for, and trying to match that up. That gets to the point of where you're not getting rewarded based on your own skills, creativity, hard work. It's just, it gets to the point of almost being chance. So I like the entrepreneurship side of it of the last 21 years, where you're a little bit more in charge of your own destiny in terms of putting in the work and getting the reward.
Okay. All right. Is there nothing that you know now that you wish you knew when you first started on this side of things?
Anybody who would say that they knew it all from the start is lying. I mean, it's the best thing is to, that advice I would give to somebody who is listening, who is looking to start a business or in the early stages of business, is to talk to people who've done it before, because there's so many decisions you can make. You make a bazillion decisions every day. You make the wrong decision at any time, it can kill your entire business, even after years of having been in it. So, the people who succeed tend to be the people who made the right choices at the right times and made the right decisions that didn't make them fall off the ladder that way. So if you can learn from the people who figured out where to make those decisions and what to be paying attention to, you can skip the chance of making that, business killing decision. So having good mentors and people around you, getting involved in, business networking groups and things like that can be helpful to be able to bounce ideas off of before big decisions or even direction that you might be looking at for your company.
Yeah. I know there's a couple schools of thought when it comes to asking mentors or seasoned professional questions. Some people believe that it's better for you to search around aimlessly for hours, even days, to try to find the right answer on your own first, and then ask for help. It sounds like you believe like how I believe. Why not ask these seasoned professionals sooner than later?
Yeah, and by the way, you have to understand that the advice you're getting is from their perspective and their experience, which may or may not accurately reflect your own business and your own situation. So you do have to understand a certain bias you're getting, but that information is better than, and these days you have AI can also do some of this for you. You can ask AI, hey, analyze this, concept, or analyze this decision, or what are the pros and cons, or what are the pitfalls, or what do I have to pay attention to? It actually doesn't do a bad job of at least giving you some nuggets of things to think about and pay attention to you might not have thought about, or that you don't have time to have somebody you're talking to sit and properly synthesize, the exact things. They may give you one nugget. AI in a split second can give you 10, 20 nuggets, and you might be like, ooh, this one. Yeah, that's a good idea. So definitely the use of AI, again, understanding the bias it comes from, the generic element of how it looks at things. And then sometimes if you're trying to break new ground and do something innovative, it's not going to know innovation. It may know how to analyze the broad aspects of pros and cons, but it can't help you be innovative. That's the whole point of you doing what you're doing. It can analyze it and tell you, So yeah, that I definitely think there's a good combination of both of those. And at a certain level, to properly be an entrepreneur, you do innately have to have certain instincts that have that and do that. It's very hard to learn to be an entrepreneur versus having that drive.
Speaking of something that has 1 to 20 unknown nuggets in it, fruitcake. The jury's still out on fruitcake. Some people arrive to the holiday gathering. Some people go straight to it, and some people try to hold back their gag reflex, right? But you not only have found the people who love fruitcake, you sent it to them outer space. How did that happen?
Yeah, you did your homework. Yes. So for about 20 years, we've been supplying NASA with different food products that go up on the space station. So condiment packets like ketchup, mustard, hot sauce, and barbecue sauce on it, cheese and hummus and things we've shipped into space. And the astronauts get to pick an item like outside of the NASA meal program. And we had an astronaut that was going up that wanted fruitcake for the holidays. And the problem was NASA had already looked, and fruitcake is preserved with rum. Well, as a government agency, they can't have alcohol, even in a fruitcake, going into space. So they said, hey, Paul, I got a challenge for you. Can you help us find a fruitcake that doesn't use rum? but still is preserved, because at the time it was going up on a Russian supply rocket. This was years ago, when we were more friendly, I think. So I said, okay, challenge accepted. I called every fruitcake manufacturer in the United States. They all use rum. So I was like, oh, shoot. And I went global and found an abbey of monks in the United Kingdom who for like 400 years in their corporate bakery have been making fruitcakes without rum, but is preserved. And so they shipped over the fruitcakes to the NASA Food Lab. They tested them, passed, went up to space. Astronaut loved it, emailed the monks from space. I got the monks who were excited permission with the NASA PR office to talk about it. And then 2 years later, the astronaut went up again and asked for fruitcake again. And now the monks charged me for them. But so I've shipped fruitcake to space twice.
Well, I mean, if you're going to do it once, might as well do it twice, right? And I imagine. Go ahead.
I would say it's a good sourcing challenge. So that's again a skill set as an entrepreneur. You got to solve problems and figure things out. So sourcing fruitcake without rum to go to space is a random one, but yes. Go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, and sourcing is the base word for resourceful, and I imagine that you have to be very resourceful to end up with so many companies. How did you end up with so many companies?
So they all really build off of each other. I'm a big fan of businesses that capture societal changes and getting in sort of early with that shift in what's happening in society. So at the time, 21 years ago, people were trusting putting their credit cards online for the first time and buying products on this new thing called e-commerce. And I said, there's going to be a lot of people wanting to buy stuff on this internet thing, but there's not yet a lot of companies selling things on there. So there's a window of opportunity here to carve out a niche and focus on a particular category. And my family had been on a trip where everybody had their favorite cereal and salad dressing and barbecue sauce, and everybody was flying home after staying at this log cabin for a week. And they said, sorry, we feel bad. We're going to have to throw away all this stuff. Wouldn't it be great if you could buy your favorite brands in miniature size? So I said, let's do everything miniature, travel size toiletries, single serving food items, little medicine packets, like everything miniature. And so we launched and did 2,500 different SKUs from brands like Procter & Gamble and Unilever and all the way on down to small mom and pop brands, but everything miniature. And we're doing that direct to consumer and wholesale, even to astronauts in the space station. And then brands assumed we were manufacturing all that. So they were coming to us and I was like, I'm not manufacturing, I'm just buying it and reselling it. But let me see if I can help you. And I saw another need in the industry, in that the factories that predated the internet and e-commerce were geared towards entrepreneurs who were launching in a big way. And to be an entrepreneur before the internet, you had to have serious capital to get in. It wasn't as easy to just create an online store and buy and resell product. Entrepreneurship was a different ball game back then. The Wharton School's entrepreneurship program was barely anything. It was in the back corner of the second floor of one of the buildings. Now there's a 7-story building just for entrepreneurship. So, but back then, these factories had 1 million piece minimums. So now with this internet, and e-commerce and brands saying, I just need like 10,000 pieces or 50,000 pieces. I said, there's an opportunity here to create a scaling facility. So we launched Minimus products at minimusproducts.biz. I see some of the thing scrolling through on the screen here. That's our contract packaging facility that really is unique in the country, in that we work with food, supplements, beauty, personal care, liquids, powders, particulates, packets, stick packs, bottles, jars, cans, bags, kosher certified, organic certified. We can do OTC for topicals. And so that, small minimum runs, but can scale people depending on whether we're running semi-automatic equipment or fully automatic equipment for the size of their production run. So that was great in solving another sort of shift in what was happening in e-commerce. And then people said, great, you're making my minis, now make my full sizes. And down the street, you're doing fulfillment with your own e-commerce store, both direct to consumer and wholesale. Can you do fulfillment for my brand too? And I was like, sure, why not? And all of a sudden, I realized the same phenomenon was happening in the fulfillment industry. These warehouses that predated the internet were used to pallets coming in and pallets going out to retailers. because unless you were the Sears catalog, there wasn't that much pick and pack of individual direct-to-consumer orders. And so that's a big mindset shift, staffing shift, ability to talk to your client every day, have customer service out to the public on behalf of your brands. And so we were already doing that for ourselves. And so now brands were loving it because we're treating them as if it's still our own brand versus, clunking and knocking into stuff and, having issues with their, these old school fulfillment centers. And so that business started growing even beyond the brands we were packaging for, because we're here in Southern California. We're getting a lot of high profile celebrities that also love that kind of, hand holding and direct, contact and high touch, elements of working with them. And then we had Mondelez, the big food company, came to us and said, there's some issues happening in the food service industry. Can you help us? We started working. We signed big brand. We created another company, signed big brands like Kellogg's and General Mills and all that. And then went to the big buying groups. That industry works with these big consolidators that buy on behalf of tens of thousands of cafeterias and restaurants and all that. And they said, great with the big brands. We actually need more help with the small brands because consumers have shifted to want to try new things. And as you probably have seen when we were younger, everybody did the same brands their entire life. Once you bought Tide as your laundry detergent or Crest as your toothpaste, you did it your whole life. Now people are trying new things all the time, and especially in snacks and things too. So they're like, we need a distributor to help us with that. And so we launched a company. We opened another warehouse in Ohio and worked with the country's largest buying group and operator doing food service distribution. Have another business in Roblox merch through a friend of mine who's like a big famous OG, YouTuber, who saw a need in the Roblox space because you can now buy physical product in the Roblox platform that ties to digital product. And so we can do some print on demand, shirts and hoodies and plush toys and things like that, and keychains and things for these game developers. And we're partnered with the largest game developer studio on the platform. And the TikTok agency that you referenced came about when TikTok brought over a bunch of executives from China about a year ago here to Southern California. They brought over a bunch of Chinese agencies to support the growth of TikTok Shop in the United States. And they said, one of the agencies said, we need a partner in the US to help navigate US culture, US business culture, get trust of brands and talent. And so we partnered up, and I have some live selling studios now in my building here. And we are quadruple certified on TikTok to work with brands, work with talent, work with affiliate marketing, and work on the entertainment side where people do the gifting and battles and things like that. So that's the TikTok side of it. And now I'm working on a business that basically takes all of these service companies and partners with high profile celebrities and creators, sort of A-list folks who want to be entrepreneurs, and I can bring product innovation to them. Since I work with food scientists and chemists and material scientists and inventors, I can bring them something innovative in the category they're passionate about and be their, or collectively we can be their operational business partner to co-own that brand with them, leveraging all these infrastructure companies because nobody else really has that under one roof. So it's a great way to kind of leverage that and give them what they need for their legacy income, not just branding deals that are, maximizing their fame at the moment, but something that can grow and live beyond who they are and get an audience even beyond who they are. So I'll be quiet now and you can ask more questions.
Oh, no, you could keep going because it seems like you took vertical integration to the next level, pun intended, right? And you have a knack for making things that typically are reported as difficult by people seem simple. Like, I just had an idea. Wouldn't it be cool if there's a miniature version of these things? And now all of the biggest brands in the world are working with you. Even I don't know if they really publicize because at one point it was like TikTok bad, and then all of a sudden you never heard nothing about it again. I assumed a deal was made. All right. How are you able to take an idea to actual fulfillment? And what I mean by that is it's a lot of people want things to be perfect, and perfection ends up causing them to never get started. Would you have starting so many businesses and still working on finding new ways to bring those businesses together? I imagine that you have a healthy relationship with not waiting to be perfect before launching.
Yeah, it's that's a great comment, by the way. Everybody has more than one idea. Great ideas, in fact. Very few people know or have the time or skills to execute on those ideas. So what sounds easy, talking about it, it's not so easy when you try and execute. You think, fulfillment, stuff comes in, you get an order, you ship it out. It's not that simple. There's a lot of moving parts and complexities and what ifs and changes and things. And, and so it takes years to really build some of those systems to not even perfection, I would say, but as close to it as one can get. But to your point, being able to find that right balance of when do you push forward and do something when it's imperfect versus when do you slow down to make sure you don't fall off the deep end is a tough balance to do. And this is, again, what we were talking about before, having mentors and other people around you to help guide you, be sounding boards. Hey, should I do this? Should I make this move? Should I get a building? Should I hire staff? Should I, where do I spend my money? Do I do this marketing deal? Like I in the very early days of our company, I was like, we're doing travel size toiletries. We need to be on the checkout of one of the big online ticketing companies where you book all your plane tickets and hotel, stays. And I called, the biggest one up at the time. This is 20 years ago. And they said, we can do a test marketing for you and put your banner ad at the checkout, back when banner ads were a thing. And also in the confirmation email, we can put a little banner that people can click over and buy their travel sizes and stuff. And they're like, it'd be $10,000 for the month. And I was like, dang, at the time we were just started, $10,000 was a huge amount of money. So I was like, well, do I do one $10,000 idea or 10 $1,000 ideas? And I decided to do neither, actually. And several months later, the shoe bomber thing happened, and or maybe a couple of years, whatever it was. And where the TSA creates that 3-1-1 rule, the 3 ounces, 3.4 ounces, and the one, and the whole deal that everybody's used to now. And that company, that travel company, came to us and said, "Hey, can you do travel size kits for us with our branding on them and have a landing page and whatever and checkout, and we'll send all of our traffic from checkout." And so I was like, the thing I was going to pay $10,000 for, now they're going to be an affiliate of mine. I'm going to give them an affiliate commission on sales. So we were going to give them a 5% affiliate commission on sales. They were going to drive to it, and they did exactly what I would have paid $10,000 to. And guess how much money their affiliate check was?
What's that?
$8 and change.
10?
$8 and change. Meaning I would have spent $10,000 to book, whatever that is, 5% of something is, $8 would not have paid for itself. So again, that gets back to like figuring out like where to make those moves, and not just jump at something that you think is the golden ticket that is going to make your business. That would have crushed our business, spending 10 grand and getting a few $100 in sales. We would have been like, oh my gosh, we just blew that. Like, what happened? So figuring out, where to make those moves and where not to is critical when building it. And that's, again, having a good sounding board around you is helpful.
Oh yeah, having a good sounding board around you is definitely helpful. But sometimes, regardless of what somebody tells you, if you don't have the capacity or the wherewithal to understand and treat it as it should, right, it won't even help. And some people might say having that capacity, that wherewithal, and that persistence is what it takes to be an entrepreneur.
Yes.
Can an entrepreneur be made, or is that just something you're born with?
Yeah, I think you have to be born with it. And the biggest test to yourself is, why do you want to be an entrepreneur? And what do you enjoy about the concept of being an entrepreneur? If the answer is, I want to make a lot of money, I want to flip my business, I want to sell it to a big company, it's not really the entrepreneur's mindset. That's like an investor's mindset. The entrepreneur's mindset is, I am going to enjoy the journey of building something. I get satisfaction off of solving problems and building things. It's not about the money. Like, if you're successful at solving problems and building things, money comes from that. That's not your motivation. And if you really enjoy that building block and solving it and working every day on all, figuring things out, if you're not frustrated by that because you're anxious to get to your end game, then you're an entrepreneur. You're enjoying that process. If you genuinely enjoy that, that problem solving and not being at that goal. And that's why you look at people who've made $100 million or billion or 100 billion or whatever. You're like, why are they still doing that? Why aren't they just because to them, they still haven't solved it. They still haven't grown it. It's not about the money. It's about the satisfaction of I know I can do this. I know I can achieve this. I know I can solve that next thing. And it never ends. That's why they never usually retire, because that motivation, what they enjoy in life, is that building. And again, it's not the money.
Oh, yeah. It's definitely not the money. It's realizing that the journey is, in fact, the destination.
Yes.
No matter how weird that sounds, and statistically speaking, people who really enjoy what they do, you ask them when are they going to retire? Usually they say never, right? But of course, depending on what you do, your body might say when it's happening before you want it to happen.
Yeah. Can't be a pro football player forever. Your body will not let you do that.
Exactly. And even in the fulfillment trades, when it comes to home services companies and things of that nature, right? So you definitely want to make sure that you're getting as many customers in as soon as possible so you can plan a retirement. What would you say is the best value when it comes to marketing focus and dollars right now?
Another great question. That always changes. And it's, 2 years ago, I would have said Facebook ads. Now they're overpriced. If you have a $40 item, it might cost you $40 now to get a customer, versus a couple of years ago, it cost you $10 to get that customer. Now it's TikTok. There's the algorithm does a lot of the marketing and advertising work for you. If you're a good storyteller and you can emotionally connect to a consumer with your content, put a bunch of it out there, the algorithm, after learning your customer, will do the work. You don't even have to pay to advertise. It helps to have an agency who knows what they're doing to teach you some of these things, which is what we do. But that's what got excited, or what excited me to get into that space, because I saw that was the thing that was that next, level of where we're headed with live selling and social commerce. If you look at where do people find ideas of what products they want to buy, I don't know how old you are. When I was younger, it was TV commercials during Saturday morning cartoons. That's where you learned about products. And you're like, I want to buy that. I want that for the holidays, or my birthday, or whatever. And now you don't watch TV and you don't watch commercials like that. You watch TikTokers and YouTubers, and they're now putting these products in the content itself. It's not even like product placement. Like for years, you would have somebody on TikTok holding on Instagram holding a product, and it worked for a little while. Then people are like, they're just shilling for a product, and that kind of soured with consumers. Now you can actually have somebody like Mr. Beast, spend a couple $1 million, do a whole soundstage filled with Charlie and the Chocolate Factory with chocolate rivers and stuff, and he creates entertaining content, but he's launching a chocolate brand at the same time and is using that chocolate brand and referencing it in the content. So now not only do you have, more people watching that content than might be watching the Super Bowl. So you have a huge audience looking at, your product, you're entertaining them. And now the consumers are so thankful for the enjoyment that you gave them in your entertainment that you will have people go and buy that product, not because even necessarily they want to try it or not because it was a celebrity brand. They want to reward that person who gave them that enjoyment of that piece of entertainment. That level of marketing connection to the consumer has never been done before. And we are just at the beginning of the power of that, of both creators understanding how to do that effectively and not feeling like it's product placement in their content, but actually making it a part of their content, and brands, knowing how to work with creators to do that. There's a window now where that can happen. Soon the creators are all going to be doing their own brands, which is why I'm again seeing that as a societal change and having a business to be their partner, their operational partner to work and worry about that side of those brands, because they're going to understand the power they have as they're basically a giant TV studio, a network and distribution thing, and, all in one thing. So the advertising dollars that come into those shows, they can now capture, and they're more clever because they can actually write their content around that product.
What a difference a couple decades make. We were just talking about $10,000 being enough to destroy your company, and then you just casually mentioned just $2 million to do a chocolate commercial.
To make one video,
right?
Yeah,
one video, one video. All right, so hypothetically speaking, I'm a financial advisor and estate planner, and I decide that I should work with a company like yours that already has the relationships with these influencers. What's the first question that I should ask you in order to make sure it's the right fit?
Oh, it's a great question. So when I talk to people about this sort of creator economy and social commerce economy that's happening, and they're like, I've tried to work with influencers, as they were called before they were called creators, and it just didn't work out, and they get soured on that idea, even though that is where people's eyeballs are. And the challenge is making sure there's a lot of factors that have to come together. So for your business, you would have to say, okay, Paul, if you're going to bring me a creator to help promote my business, who's the audience of that creator? Is it 12-year-old girls? Well, they're not going to want financial planning, and that kind of is it people who watch them because they're a train wreck? Well, they're not going to trust them with financial planning advice if their content is all about being a train wreck. So you have to understand, what is their content about? What is their audience about? What is their audience's connection to that person based on that content? And then, is it an audience who will buy this kind of product from that person? And so trying to find that match. So it's not going to be, again, somebody who's, a kid throwing soda cans at a wall and watching them explode or whatever, hawking your services or whatever. You might find somebody who's giving stock tips or something like that, or has, programs that are in the finance or business world where the people are watching them to get ideas and get value. And all of a sudden that person is talking about your services, and that fits with who their audience is and why they're listening to them. Like if you're a chef on YouTube, don't come out with, a computer mouse as your product. Come out with a food product to be, or a spice or something like that can be used in cooking. So that way, your audience is already waiting to learn from you and wanting to replicate what you're doing. Give them a tool to do it. They're going to buy that tool. So similarly, and then I would also look at what's the cost to the person, the risk reward. You can go spend $1 million and get a big A-lister who's in the finance world to promote you. Are the people who watch that person going to come to you and buy? Or would you be better off getting, a bunch of people who have 1,000 followers, but they're really core followers who love that person and what they're about? You go get 10 of those and you're spent $10,000 to get, 10,000 people, whatever, now you're your risk reward versus, getting that fine-tuned audience and not spending on a wider swath of people, it's probably better off. Again, it was that my example before about would I spend 10 grand when that was a big deal on one shot, or would I get 10 things at 1,000? In the end, I chose neither, and actually choosing neither in that moment was the better choice. But so here, like if you've got 100 employees or 500 employees in your business, then that's different. You aim for somebody who is the $1 million, fee person. If you're a sole proprietor and you tend to get customers who are just in your, county or your, little area there, then you want hyper targeted people who are famous in your community, and get viewed, and the algorithms will push them because they're local. And in fact, at a certain point, I would even say, talent like that is probably not good for a localized business, because most of social media is national at the very least, if not international. So you're spending to try and target people that, you're too small in a wide, thing. You'd be better off in a weird way getting the old school coupons that go in everybody's mailbox, or, thinking like, how can I go out of the box and get myself in front of where their eyeballs are? And that's really, I always look at that, in a business is, where are your customers' eyeballs? How do they spend their days? What do they look at? What websites are they on? What stores do they go to? Who do they talk to? Like, where do they learn about stuff? So again, with broad-based consumer products, social media is where people learn about products, and watching people promote them, talk about them, use them. And that's, if you've got a national product, then yes. If you've got a local product, social media is too national to try in general to go local, unless you can do local targeting ads and things like that.
Yeah. It's definitely about being self-aware and being very intentional about where you're spending your money, and also realizing, all right, if I'm a local company, does it make sense for me to spend all of this money to reach a national audience? Does that even matter to me? And is that important? And it sounds like the way your company leads is with education, and it seems like you're also not afraid to say maybe we're not the right fit, or is that so? If somebody wanted to introduce you to somebody, what's the description of that person? Because what you described was essentially a customer persona. This person's behaviors, this person's demographics, or what are their jobs to be done. And when you have that customer persona, you're able to their age. When you have that customer persona, putting together marketing and going with the right people is easy. Who is your customer persona?
It depends which business we're talking about, and I would say in general, it tends to be small businesses. Somebody who's probably doing $1 million a year to $20-30 million a year. Somebody in that kind of range. You're shipping 20 orders a day, or similarly if it's wholesale, and then we're either making product, fulfilling it, or you're an A-list celebrity. Obviously we can help in that stance. You're a small snack brand, and there's some things we can help there. So it depends on which business, but you touched on some interesting things there where you were talking before about getting that right fit, between and even I would say selling. You were saying like how I'm just sort of, it's either a fit or it's not. And I find when I talk to people, that people are like, Paul, you're a great salesperson. I'm like, I don't sell. I just say, here's what we do. It either works for you or it doesn't. And it's either a fit or it isn't. And in a weird way, that turns out to be a better way to sell things, because you're not trying to sell. You're just trying to see if there's a good fit. Can you create a win-win that works for everybody? That's not selling. That's genuinely trying to see if you can help somebody in what it is they're doing.
Oh yeah, just saying what I do and seeing if they want it. Once again, Paul manages to make something that people go their whole lives trying to figure out how to do and make it seem so simple. And a lot of times, what practice makes perfect. Repetition is the mother of skill. And it seems like you've repeated a lot of these great strategies and tactics in order to make it. How did you know? Have you made it? And if you have, how did you know you made it?
So getting back to what we were talking about earlier, I think a true entrepreneur never believes they've made it. You could be Bill Gates or something like that. And in the back, you may say it for the media or whatever that you did, but the back of your mind, you haven't, because you still have more you want to solve and achieve. So in that sense, there really isn't an answer to that to say that you've made it. On a certain level, when the business grew to the point where I didn't have to be the person always filling in for the person who was out sick or on vacation, where we had enough staff and cross training that I didn't always have to do the job of that person who was out beyond, on top of my own job, because invariably someone is out sick or on vacation. So then you have a sense of feeling like I've built a system that is self-sustaining, that doesn't need me to always be the driving force to pick up the slack or whatever. So once you've built a system, then there's an element of feeling like you've made it to a degree. It's not a financial goal. It's more building that system. So that would be, I think, the best way to answer it. But the other thing, when you talk about making things seem easy, and this is another lesson I've learned about life, is that you can't understand the wisdom of somebody older than you until you've reached that age. Somebody who's 20 doesn't understand the wisdom. You literally cannot compute it until you're 30. And when you're 30, someone who's in their 30s can't compute the wisdom of someone in their 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s. So looking at people who may not even have the specific skills, but they've just lived life, there's skills and a perspective that is developed from life wisdom that is valuable. And so that's another piece that as you get older and you look back to your previous decade, and you're like, oh man, my brain wasn't working and thinking about things in the way it is now, based on the wisdom I have now. And you're like, I couldn't have predicted that level of wisdom then, because you just can't understand it. And this gets back to, again, being able to talk to people older than you, younger than you, because they're seeing the world in different ways and are able to give you either the lack of wisdom, because you may assume people have a wisdom and you're trying to, sell a product or market something on the assumption they have the wisdom when their brain is over here because of the age group they're in that you're not in, or somebody who's older who has a perspective on what's important about your business and not racing and trying to do everything all at once and having a steady course and doing things more methodically, whatever it is. That's, I think, another piece of advice that is very hard for people. It's more life advice, but it relates to business, is to understand the wisdom of somebody older than you that you can't possibly understand, and pay attention, listen, and ask questions. But also understand the people who are younger than you, you're going to assume they have the wisdom you do, and they don't. And therefore, you have to look at how you're marketing, who your audience is, because you may have aged out of that audience and you can't even think the way that they do now.
Oh, yeah. I think Neil deGrasse Tyson, he described it as giving a baby a set of keys, like a set of keys to a car. No matter how smart this baby is, there's only so much that they can do. Even if they put the key in ignition, they can't reach the pedal. They can't reach the brakes. And if they could reach the pedal and the brakes, now they can't see over the dashboard. It sounds like what you're saying, you can have access to the same information for decades, but that same information might hit different at year 30, year 40, year 50.
Exactly. Yeah, but I like Neil deGrasse Tyson. Back in the day, I was either going to get into business or get into theoretical physics. So I still follow a lot of the leaders in that area. He's great at articulating concepts like that.
And some might say with the packaging and the logistics that you're a part of, you still are in a form of theoretic physics. All right. Definitely moving things from one place to another, moving atoms. I believe Elon Musk said those are the jobs that are saved, that will be protected from AI, the people who are moving atoms in real life. And it seems like you're moving a lot of atoms. What's up next for you?
The next big thing really is this partnering with the celebrities and building consumer products brands at scale by bringing that innovation where they can leverage their audiences to a product that can scale instead of just white labeling product to sell to their fans. It's leveraging their fans into clever, innovative product lines, and then co-owning and running and managing those businesses with them. So meeting with a lot of the agents and managers and talent and all that right now, working on that. So that is really the next thing. It's kind of leveraging this whole infrastructure into, that next, phase of where it all leads, which is working with brands.
I might have, because I might have an idea to run by you, and it seems like you're the person to have idea conversation with. Because from what I've learned, as soon as you have an idea that fulfills a need, you execute on it. Those celebrities, how do you think they might respond to equity deals? Meaning that you do a partnership with a budding franchise, a franchise that might not be national yet, but local or regional. Would that be a interesting idea for celebrities to take equity, or is cash king and not equity?
It depends. It depends on the celebrity. It depends on what the project or product or concept is. And how you got to know them and meet them and their team and all that. So, a big top celebrity, some of them don't want to be an entrepreneur, don't want to own equity in businesses. They just want to get paid to promote product, and they make a good living doing that. And that's what they do. Other ones are like, I want to be an entrepreneur. I love this idea of entrepreneurship. I don't have time to do the operations side and sort of the heavy lifting of running a business and a brand, but I know how to market, I know how to create content, I know how to get friends to help do that. So they understand, where their strengths and weaknesses are. And that's where we have good, effective, partnerships to support them and do that. To do something like what you may be alluding to, which is like, I've got a financial planning business and I want to franchise it out nationally, and I want to get other, I don't know if that's what it is, but let's say it was, and have other financial planners, and I want to get a celebrity to support me on doing that. That's going to be a little bit harder to get somebody big enough to do something that's going to be meaningful, like in that space, unless you already were like making $10 million in your area kind of thing. And you were the big shot, already known. And now you're scaling bigger, and they're going to help you do that, because now the value you're bringing to them is at the level that they're at. Similar, like if with all this infrastructure and experience I have, I've touched $1 billion in GMV. They understand we're at, they don't know this world. I know what they can bring to the table. We can work, symbiotically together. If there feels like a huge imbalance, they're going to say, pay me, because it's not worth all the effort and time and leveraging of their name into making you go from here to here, when they're already here, kind of thing. Like they need to have you go both like this versus you're here and they're here, and they're getting you to go from there to here. They're going to say, pay me to do that. Now, that smaller ones who are at that level, who can help you both kind of move up. That's what I was talking about before. So if you're a smaller shop or a local thing, idea, or whatever, find the smaller people to work with, get a bunch of them, like create a pool, of equity or something. There's ideas that are going to return better than, giving up, something bigger. And you won't even get somebody if there's too much of a disparity there in where you're at.
Oh, yeah, that's a very straightforward and logical answer. What's your favorite vacation?
What's a vacation?
What's your favorite vacation?
No, I meant what is one? As an entrepreneur, you don't take them. I was a fan of one done with my kids several summers ago. We actually did like 4 mini vacations in a summer. So for me, it's hard to take a week off or 2 weeks off and be that disconnected from all the things going on. But if I could take 4 3 or 4 day weekends across the summer, I'm just taking a Friday off here or there, or a Friday, Monday or something. That's easier to do. And for the kids, it was great because they always had a new little mini vacation to look forward to. So, 3 days at Disneyland and, 3 days in San Francisco, or 4 days on the beach in San Diego, or, the weekend in Catalina Island. And so it's like these little mini vacations packed into a summer. I actually thought it was a fun summer for everybody, and works within sort of the entrepreneurial schedule. So you're not sitting there stressed during a vacation because there's fires that need to be put out.
Oh yeah, I'm a 3 days, 4 days max type of guy. If somebody wanted to get in contact with you and work with you, remind them again, what's your name, what do you do, and how they can get in touch.
Paul Shrater, Shrater. You have your little thing going on the screen down below. Minimusfulfillment.biz for fulfillment, minimusproducts.biz for contract packaging. You can find me on LinkedIn and reach out to me on LinkedIn. PaulSchrater.com, although I don't even think there's a way to contact me on there, but it sort of lists everything I'm doing. Those would be the places where I can help with fulfillment or contract packaging, food, beauty, supplements, personal care, other stuff. So always happy to help other entrepreneurs and work with other entrepreneurs. I love working with them and helping them grow their business, and even giving them other ideas or other connections I may have in my network just along the way. So,
is there a question that I didn't ask you that I should have?
There's always a million questions you can ask, but I think that was good. It was fun and hopefully either inspirational, informative. People are welcome to follow up and ask other questions, or happy to participate and talk to your audience.
Absolutely. Well. If you're listening to this episode via voice, remember to always check the show notes where you can click a link to see our beautiful ebony and ivory faces saying exactly what we're saying, but visually. This has been another episode of the Entreprenudist Podcast, a place to hear real entrepreneurs and business owners bear it all. Once again, I am your host, Randolph Love III. And as always, don't play with it, stay with it until you make pay with it. This is the Entreprenudist Podcast signing off.